Yesterday, as I was really thinking through what we as a campus can do, I was struck by how do we bring people together? How do we convey the passion, the pain, the anger that we all feel in an environment that, because of the pandemic, prevents us from being together on campus? How can we create an assembly so that there's an opportunity for common voices to come together and share passion? So as we think through the events that are unfolding around us, justice too long delayed is justice denied. And as we put today's actions into context of the past, I'm struck by the power of this letter, which is as timely today as it was in 1963, that we will now together read excerpts from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail, penned April 16th, 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, I'm in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the 8th century prophets left their little villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns.
And just as the Apostle Paul left his little village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to practically every hamlet and city of the Greco-Roman world, I too am compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my particular hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid.
I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all the communities and states. I cannot sit idle by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny.
Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow provincial outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere in this country.
We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have never yet engaged in any direct action movement that was well-timed.
For years now, I've heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with a piercing familiarity. This wait has almost meant never. We must come to see that justice too long delayed is justice denied.
We have waited for more than 340 years for our constitutional and God-given rights. The nations of Asia and Africa are moving with jet-like speed toward the goal of political independence, and we still creep at horse and buggy pace toward gaining a cup of coffee at the lunch counter.
I guess it is easy for those who have never felt the stinging facts of segregation to say wait. But when you have seen vicious mobs lynch your mothers and fathers at will and drown your sisters and brothers at whim, when you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, brutalize, and even kill your Black brothers and sisters with impunity.
When you see the vast majority of your 20 million Negro brothers smothering in an airtight cage of poverty in the midst of an affluent society, when you suddenly find your tongue twisted and your speech stammering as you seek to explain to your 6-year-old daughter why she can't go to the public amusement park that has just been advertised on television.
And see the tears welling up in her little eyes when she is told that Funtown is closed to colored children. And see the depressing clouds of inferiority begin to form in her little mental sky. And see her begin to distort her little personality by unconsciously developing a bitterness toward white people.
When you have to concoct an answer for a 5-year-old son asking in agonizing pathos, "Daddy, why do white people treat colored people so mean?" When you take a cross-country drive to find it necessary to sleep night after night in the uncomfortable corners of your automobile because no motel will accept you.
When you are humiliated day in and day out by nagging signs reading white and color. When your first name becomes the N-word and your middle name becomes boy, however old you are, and your last name becomes John, and when your wife and mother are never given the respected title, Mrs.
When you are harried by day and hunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stance, never quite knowing what to expect next, and plagued with inner fears and outer resentments, when you are forever fighting a degenerating sense of nobodiness, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait.
There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over, and men are no longer willing to be plunged into an abyss of injustice, where they experience the bleakness of corroding despair.
Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The urge for freedom will eventually come. This is what happened to the American Negro. Something within has reminded him of his birthright of freedom. Something without has reminded him that he can gain it.
Consciously and unconsciously, he has been swept in by what the Germans call the Zeitgeist, and with his black brother of Africa and his brown and yellow brothers of Asia, South America, and the Caribbean, he is moving with a sense of cosmic urgency toward the promised land of racial justice.
Recognizing this vital urge that has engulfed the Negro community, one should readily understand public demonstrations.
The Negro has many pent-up resentments and latent frustrations. He has to get them out. So let him march sometime. Let him have his prayer and pilgrimages to City Hall. Understand why he must have sit-ins and freedom rides. If his repressed emotions do not come out in these nonviolent ways, they will come out in ominous expressions of violence.
This is not a threat. It is a fact of history. So I've not said to my people, get rid of your discontent, but I've tried to say that this normal and healthy discontent can be channeled through the creative outlet of nonviolent direct action.
Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away, and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities. And in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine all over our great nation with all of their scintillating beauty.
Yours for the cause of peace and brotherhood, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. These words penned from the Birmingham Jail ring as true now as they did then. I hope that all of us across the ETSU community and the ETSU family will reflect not only on these words, but how these words can provide a guide and a compass for us as we move forward in the days, weeks, and months to come. These are trying times for our nation. These are unsettling times for us all, but may these also be times in which we as an institution lead with empathy, lead with compassion, and lead with our values.